I'm actually all on board for more of these movies, provided there aren't any aliens in the last 15 minutes to ruin everything. Hey movie fans, so Steven Spielberg recently came out in press releases for Ready Player One of all things that he was going to be working on Indiana Jones 5 starting next year for a release in 2020. I actually am getting really excited for that. I love the Indiana Jones franchise, except for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which no one likes that movie. I'm actually really curious to see what they bring to the table. There's some rumors of what the story may be, but for me personally, here are 5 ideas that I would love to see at some point play out in an Indiana Jones movie, whether that be Indiana Jones 5 or some film down the line. At number 5, we have King Solomon's Mines. Now, this is a story in literature that has been adapted before in various film mediums. I think there was a film in 1950, one in like 1985 or 86, has very much felt like an Indiana Jones story, as well as the most recent version being in the Librarian film universe, which was a lot of fun. So in the Bible, King Solomon was an incredibly wise king. God basically said, if there's something I could give you, what would it be? Solomon asked for wisdom. God, being so impressed with this, gave him great wealth and a lot of other things. So he has this vast array of mines hidden, and I think it'd be a lot of fun. I like when Indiana Jones goes after somewhat well-known things in unique ways. So a lot of the things on this list will be things that kind of the general population already knows of, in a sense, but we haven't seen Indiana Jones go after just quite yet. And I think King Solomon's Mines, while they've been explored in other films, I think it'd be cool to see an Indiana Jones spin on that classic story. Now, at number 4, we have what is probably right now the leading candidate. I've heard some rumors that this is actually the story that they're going with. I don't know if it's the best story option, but it's one that's certainly intriguing, and that's Indiana Jones and Atlantis. Indiana Jones and the Search for Atlantis, which sounds really, really cool and really fascinating. Kind of a lot of potential storylines that they could go with this. For me personally, I wouldn't have just Indiana Jones looking for Atlantis. I'd have him looking for something in Atlantis itself. For me, it's not enough that Indiana Jones finds Atlantis, because yeah, apparently I'm never happy with Indiana Jones just finding Atlantis. That's not big enough of a deal. For me, personally, I'd have Indiana Jones look in Atlantis for, like, say, the Trident of Neptune or something, like a weapon that can control the seas. Because all the best Indiana Jones movies, it's not so much he's looking for a treasure, it's looking for a treasure before someone else uses that treasure for nefarious means. Ark of the Covenant, whatever the thing was in Temple of Doom. Temple of Doom's not really my favorite. Or the Holy Grail in Last Crusade. All of them are being used for nefarious purposes, and that's why Indiana Jones is kind of tracking it down. So it's not enough that he's trying to find Atlantis. He could be trying to find, like, the trident that rules all the seas, and that could help the German Nazis win the war or something, because at the end of the day, it always has to come down to the Nazis. The Russians just don't count. Sorry, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but it always has to come back to the Nazis, so I always kind of think, how can we incorporate the villains in this and make it more of a chase? And I think Atlantis is an interesting concept. I'm sure that that's probably what they'll end up going with, but Atlantis is not enough. Find Atlantis, find the Trident, save the world, etc. At number 3, we have one from very old mythology, a term that we kind of hear in today's society, but not very much. It's one that could be rooted in mythology, but bringing it to life, and that is Indiana Jones trying to find Pandora's Box. So the story with Pandora's Box is essentially, don't open it or everything goes horribly, horribly wrong. It's very, very similar to the Ark of the Covenant, which I know at times, if this is the story that they go with, people will be like, oh, you're just copying Raiders of having the open the thing and everyone dies and has their face melted off thing. But I think that'd be a good thing. I don't think it'd be wrong to try and copy the formula for Raiders, one of the most successful adventure stories of all time. Pandora's Box could be an interesting MacGuffin to get the story going. I like those weapons that they have to find basically before the bad guys, and that's why there's a lot of artifact-specific items in my top 5 today. And I think Pandora's Box, people know the term but don't know the mythology so much, and I think that'd be interesting to be kind of expounded upon in an Indiana Jones story, and just Indiana Jones trying to find this before the Nazis do, because it's always Nazis, and trying to avoid the Nazis opening Pandora's Box, because doesn't that just sound like an awesome concept for a movie? At number 2, we have probably my most out of left field concept, but if you do it correctly, it could be a lot of fun, and that's the Horn of Joshua that Indiana Jones has to track down. So in the Bible, Josh has to break down the big wall. Yes, I'm literally making this a VeggieTales episode and I don't even care. Essentially, Joshua and his men walk around the city of Jericho, and then eventually they blast their horns and all the walls of Jericho come crumbling down. It's an awesome biblical story. The best Indiana Jones stories to me are the biblical artifacts. Raiders of the Lost Ark with the Ark of the Covenant, Last Crusade with the Holy Grail. Keep this going with Joshua, the Horn of Joshua, the thing that was blasted to break down the walls of Jericho. Break the walls! This artifact could be like used to destroy any building or have ultimate weapon capabilities, something that the Nazis so desperately want. Indiana Jones has to find it before the Nazis. There we have our movie. Then of course the artifact ends up in some museum that we never see, for never to be used again, but it's essentially that stopping the Nazis thing. And I would like more biblical stories to be brought to the Indiana Jones forefront, because those are the best stories that we've gotten so far with biblical artifacts. I like other mythologies, but I think the biblical stories would be the most fun to adapt, and the Horn of Joshua, just the possibilities of that, I think could be a lot of fun. However, the best possible route that I think an Indiana Jones story could go, for number 1, Indiana Jones finding Excalibur. Now, doesn't that just write itself? That's kind of what I thought when he, for a lot of Last Crusade, is kind of dealing with knights, with the old knight in particular in Last Crusade, of trying to find the Holy Grail. I really would love to see Indiana Jones on like an old-fashioned knight's quest to find Excalibur. Not to wield it. That's out of the question. That's a little too fan fiction for me. But Indiana Jones tried to stop the Nazis, of course, because yes, I know there's a little bit of a trend in all these stories that I'm pitching, but it's Indiana Jones. You don't mess with a formula that works. Isn't that right, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? But he's trying to find Excalibur before the Nazis do, because maybe in this world, whoever owns and wields Excalibur rules all of Europe, which could be very, very key for the Germans, for the Nazis, in World War II. All ties back together. So Indiana Jones has to try and save the world by getting Excalibur. I think that'd be really, really cool. One of the most famous literary artifacts of all time with King Arthur's sword. One of the most famous movie characters of all time in Indiana Jones. And maybe a little far-fetched, but aren't all the Indiana Jones movies just a tad bit far-fetched? But that's, at the end of the day, why we like them so much. Well, what do you guys think? What are some ideas that you would like to see executed in an Indiana Jones movie going forward? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you see and want to see more, subscribe to the channel, or find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Uncharted Media. Stay sharp, movie guys and gals!